Okay, good night, good night, good night, good night, good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. 60 to 90 minutes of fatherhood conversation for fathers, about fathers, by fathers, hopefully inspiring fathers. Um, I welcome you all here tonight. Trying to manage myself because I'm about to turn into Lightborn in a minute. So let me just compose myself before we get into the conversation. But I'm about to be probably Lightborn tonight because I just watched something that I just have some issues with. So tonight our topic, as you know, tonight's topic is parent alienation against Black fathers. That topic came from uh, uh, I guess, a seminar that I just got off of watching, um, put on by some brothers in Alabama, and I watched and in hope that um, let me just say, parent father alienation is probably one of the most important things that affects fathers, other than probably the loss of a child, right? That's probably the next. That's like the loss of your child. In that is probably the next step in my mind. It could be anybody else, but in my mind, when I think about fathers and fatherhood issues, that's probably one of the next ones. So that to me, that's a very important topic. It has to be handled the very way. I'm gonna I'm gonna probably give some advice when we start up about it. Let me compose myself because I'm just hyped. I got my whole self off the cycle what I'm supposed to be doing because I got a little bit caught up in to some of the stuff I heard and stuff to say. So let me just first, talk a little bit about our sponsors for tonight. As always, JAG Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. If you're looking for a lawyer in South Florida, look, JAG Attorney at Law, Johnny A. Gaspar, Esquire, J. Gaspar at jag1law.com. His number is 305-827-8087. I definitely want to thank him as being a key sponsor to the Fatherhood Think Tank, as well as our partnerships, our Fatherhood Initiative partnerships with the Zeta Chi chapter of Fort Lauderdale, Omega Psi Phi, the Zeta Chi Qs, the partnership with Zeta Xi Nu chapter, Lagos, Nigeria, Nigerian Qs, and Omega Lambda chapter, Omega Psi Phi, Philadelphia chapter, the Philly Qs. So we had our partnerships with Fatherhood Initiative that we work with diligently within their organization, supporting them and their fatherhood initiatives with the Fatherhood Think Tank. So I put that in there and share that. Let me very quickly say, hey, if you haven't done so, like, share, subscribe, join us. We was away for a while. We came back last week, and now we're back and ready to go strong. Everybody is either going to school or getting ready to school. So this topic, this topic is gonna go one all the way around the world, especially dealing with what's going on right now for many fathers and what's happening. But we hope to keep it in a positive sense. I'm gonna let my friends and my brothers who I trust dearly more than anything else go ahead and introduce themselves. Let me get cooled down a little bit before I get talking too much. Take it away, fathers. Dr. Ron has to take a breather.
Since my mic is open, I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Ed Tenney. I am a father of three very grown adult children. Three grandchildren, two on the West Coast, one on the East Coast here with me. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's got Dr. Ron all riled up. It's a pleasure to be.
Good afternoon, fathers, and folks who are joining the program. Uh, my name is Rohan Willock. I'm a father of two young adults. Uh, they don't reside with me, but I'm very active in their lives. Uh, as I always say, it's a pleasure to be here in this forum to learn, to teach, and to share wisdom amongst other fathers and folks out there in the internet world. Thank you for having me tonight.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, 1 grandson, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
All right, great. And I'm Dr. Ron, the curator of the Fatherhood Think Tank, marriage and family therapist who really deals a lot more with family and specializing fathers in this same sense. Estranged fathers are alienated fathers. So I know most people seen the post of advertising it tonight, and on there was a seminar hosted by some brothers in the great state of Alabama, and I tuned in, and I hope that some people would tune in, and that we have a brief, like a post-op conversation about what was said and what was talked about, and we could add our 2 cents as our panel of fathers and how we operate. But as and I guess the first thing I want to say, I don't know how serious people understand parent alienation, or really how serious father alienation operates and what it means. It's not. I know sometimes people will kind of like take a general approach about it and be like, oh, you should do this. They could do that. They need to man up. They need to do these things. And I think that means that you don't really understand what has happened to these, or what's going on, or what kind of situation that these fathers are in. Again, it doesn't have to be a father. We're talking about fathers, but when we look at parent alienation, the same thing happens on both ends. And it is not something to take lightly, to almost kind of say, well, you should do more. And I get that way because I think about, my years of working in domestic violence, that becomes victim blaming for victims of or survivors of domestic violence, to tell them, oh, well, you should have left, or you should have did this, or these things, because I think in many instances that people could do those things. If the system was arranged for that to happen, for those things to be in play, I'm sure that they would do that. But a lot of times they don't. They can't, or they won't, and they're not even having any guidance or anybody kind of telling them how and what to do. So keep that in the mind of parent alienation is not like someone trying to be a deadbeat dad, or someone who is doing this and doing that. These are people who really probably want to really be involved in their children's life. The system, and sometimes the mother has, or the other parent has organized the system, or organized in a way to begin to alienate the parent, not so much in the system, but with the child. And the child then begins to feel some way, or be put in the disposition of choosing parents, or feeling as whatever one parent tells them about the other parent, because that parent's there, and not really realizing the dynamics of what's going on and how things are going on. And so as I listen to the panelists, sometimes I say this, as a person who kind of does this on a normal basis, I think that if I was going to talk about and I'm thinking about I have a program coming up soon that I'm a part of about pre pre post prepartum postpartum uh, topic, right? I'm not an expert on any of that, so I agreed to work on that panel, but I didn't agree to be on the panel. I agreed to look for people who were experts in that area who would talk about that and not just come and say, well, this should happen and that should happen. I mean, I have some experience working in postpartum, pre-postpartum, have some experience, but I'm not. I won't do service to someone who is that there every day and they're working in that capacity. Because guess what happens? You could end up really hurting people or hurting people involved in that because they're listening to it. You're sitting on the platform as an expert. Like in our forum, we're not destined to be experts. We're just fathers talking about our experiences, right? And we're not telling people what they should do or how they should do it. We're kind of just talking about what's been best practice for us, what some of our experiences are, and sometimes having some knowledge based on our work or being around in the population that it doesn't really put people in this kind of place. So I just wasn't comfortable with some of the panelists and how some didn't even, I questioned if they were even valuable to be on the panel, right? So, because if you have no experience, you don't know anything about something, why would you be on that panel? If you don't have it, listen, I can only tell you about how great my life was and how great my life is as a married husband and how I have a great relationship with my children and what I learned in my marriage of work. Listen, I have always said, and I working in our Fatherhood Think Tank, those are great things to do and great things to have those people on the platform to talk in this forum of think tank. But to be on the panel to talk about it, I get somewhat leery of that because what may happen is you may begin to hurt people who are going through that. And a lot of people can't really see it. If I'm a mother who is being alienized by, or I feel like I'm being alienized, and you are there talking about the great time and how you handle things with your wife and this and that. If I'm there to pay, I'm probably going to tune out because that might be a trigger for me. And then I'm hearing about, what I should be doing and almost, as I would say, playing on my deficits that I need to be doing something better. I need to be changing something. And in many cases, we always can do something better. We can do something different. But if you don't know the people and don't know what they face and how they face it, I find it very bold to kind of suggest things that they should be doing. Even saying that, hey, one of the panelists said, single mothers do a great job raising children. We don't know if fathers do a good job raising. Listen, and I don't know. It might seem minuscule to you, but to say that out the mouth almost gives reference to the idea that, hey, keep that father away because he don't know what he's doing. He won't be able to. And we know that just as dangerous as a father could be, a mother could be equally dangerous. Parents can be irresponsible and parents can be responsible. So I'm gonna land that plane right there. And it had me, listen, I was here talking to myself because there was nobody to talk to. I was just listening to the panel. I was shaking my head because listen, remind you that this thing, you can't speak. It's like a webinar. So they can talk and you can only listen. And I hate those kind of platforms because you can't ever question the people or even ask them. They got set questions and I know that's organized for the structure thing, but sometimes what happens is they'll leave. I think they're still going on. It just ended. They're probably gonna leave there and say, yeah, we did a good job, man. We really talked on the issue. And I feel like, as and again, it may be me because of me being a expert in that issue that I felt like they didn't do what they could to protect fathers who may be facing alienation. I'm not gonna say they didn't do a good job on what they presented. I'm saying that if I was trying to come on there to get some support or get some energy or get some mindset, I would have probably left there feeling a little bit less empowered. They didn't give like you should, be in buying gifts or, not the kind of tips that we would say is like, listen, if you want to, you can't see your kids, there's tons of things you can do. Don't risk getting more alienated from them, but it's things you can do because your kids will always be your kids. Tenny can tell you that right now. His kids are still his kids. All these years later, they still come and see you. And if they're being told, if they're being taken or separated from you, there are things you can do. You can write a letter once a month, put things in the letter, seal the letters, and pack them somewhere. I know I've seen that many times in TV shows. What's the show where the dude was a basketball player? And then he found the box of all his dad's letters. And he had to go to the people's house to get it. And then he read all the letters and he realized, oh, my dad did think about me. I thought he didn't. I thought it had never happened. So I'm throwing that out there to you guys, because I know I've talked a lot. And I don't like to do that. But I had to get you in the mindset of what I experienced and what I seen and really think about, hey, how do we talk about we're going to present this kind of topic, but not take in mind of the people that will be listening or even the people that may be looking to get something from that topic and what we send as the message. And listen, we may be I'm not going to, we may have been guilty that on here at the Fatherhood Think Tank, but what is our saving grace is that we're a think tank. So at any time, if you disagree, you have an agreement, you can open and say, hey, man, that ain't how it is. And we can learn from you. We're not the experts. We are just men who have fathers who have had experiences who we share. Okay, there you go, guys. Take it away, whoever wants to go.
Okay, so tonight's topic, parental alienation. So let's start it. There are many ways we can look at this picture. Anger is a popular emotion amongst different cultures. We know that parental alienation is a form of child abuse. And we know that anger is, again, popular emotion. And anger is a healthy emotion. But it's how you distribute your anger. So most times, most people who have learned behavior will use the anger in a manner that is not healthy. And of course, using the anger emotion, especially on a child that is not fully developed, and is also should be learning from you, the parent, to hurt another parent, unfortunately has become the norm. The system has in place what I call oxygen and acetylene and gas to make that anger turn into a fire. So, as I always say, you'll find couples who are arguing, and one will be across the table, and they're arguing about a issue that both of them, who were once in love or once plugged in and now unplugged, fighting over an issue. And unfortunately, the child is used as a tool to hurt the other parent. And both parties are guilty of doing this. Most times when we have those emotions, to be honest, we need to be sitting side by side at the table and working to come to a common solution or solutions to fix the issue. And we know as fathers here who have experience and who advocate for children know that these emotions are going to continue. These emotions are going to spread like fire because most people are just not trained. Most people are just going to continue doing the learned behavior of burning down the forest. And at the end of the day, what happens? The child gets abused. Two people taught that child that system, and we pray that that child don't continue that learned behavior when their time comes around. That's what I have to say about parental alienation.
Yeah, I got to excuse me. I'm a little distracted right now. But as far as parental alienation goes, um, I think a good example of that, Ron, is what I believe your one of your fraternity brothers was facing, Ricky Smiley, because he wear a lot of his issues on his sleeves, particularly on the radio. But I think after his son passed away, he was having a bout of that parental alienation, particularly from the mother of his deceased son's, um, the mother of his deceased son. And so what happened was, I think they couldn't come to an agreement per se, and he just felt like he just wanted to play a bigger role, a bigger part in his grandchild's life. But unfortunately, the way the laws are set up, she had full control because she was the mother and he was the grandfather. See how that works? And so I think a great example of parental alienation was his circumstances and situation at that particular time. I think they have since worked that out. Right? And I think a lot of times, when it comes to parental alienation, I think we have it within ourselves as a family and as parents to work out a lot of um, personal issues before they become or transform into penal issues.
Mm.
Right? And so I think a lot of times they come from, most times from either very petty places sometimes. Um, has most of the time it has, I would say 80% of the time it has nothing to do with the child. Because if it had anything to do with the child, or the child was the focal point of our love or our parenting, then I believe we will assemble as many allies as we can, you understand, to provide and protect that child and create a village around that child. Unfortunately, because we have evolved so much as a society and particularly as a culture, um, we tend to value self-preservation over child preservation. And because of that, the child often gets victimized emotionally, sometimes economically, financially, and um, and communally, for lack of a better word, as it pertains to being, having all the support that they can have. And so your point is valid, and the topic is valid, because where that becomes danger is, um, we create support deficits, where we can have more support assets, and we're more likely to let our feelings about somebody else's life override or supersede the fact of other people in our lives, the fact that that may be that child, that is that child's father, the fact that that child has grandparents and cousins and stuff like that. And once we alienate the father, we'll alienate all the support that comes along with that particular father. It can work for the mothers too, but I'm just showing how all the support that you can have, you don't have, is because you subscribe to some type of parental alienation, which is you think you're really alienating or separating yourself or keeping one child support away, when every person has at least two people they're responsible for, which means every person is born to a mother and a father, and so one person is actually three. And so potentially, what you're doing when you alienate one person, you're really alienating three, because you're alienating the support that comes along with that one person that you alienate. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll leave it right there for now.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. Um, I also like to add that um, for some, I don't know the motivation behind the alienation. Um, Sometimes uh, there could be, I don't know, I'm not sure what word to describe it, but like a false motive uh, to be able to force that alienation or create that narrative. Uh, I guess the battle against that is that one, to recognize that you have no control over what's being said about you, how it's being said, if you're uh, not in the arena to defend yourself. And unfortunately, the child, depending on the cognitive abilities of that child to be able to ascertain, you know, the difference. I think the only way for Black fathers to uh, fight against that or shield themselves against that is to consistently be opposite of whatever that narrative is, that negative narrative or that negative alienation. And, if you're uh, showing up, being consistent with your character, uh, not just around that child, but your friends, your associates, your circle of influence, such that if a narrative is uh, kind of exposed to other people uh, to join in that manipulation, if you will, it would be looked at and frowned upon because it doesn't fit what you have characterized yourself as a part of your daily living, your daily life, how you conduct yourself uh, in public. It's just really unfortunate that um, depending on the motivation, depending on the uh, Brother Rohan spoke about it earlier, the anger, the uh, just the emotional content at the time of the alienation. You just kind of have to uh, be consistent in how you show up and be consistent in your character that is against that narrative. And unfortunately, I think fathers just get like a bad rap. I think somehow we become the easy fall guy uh, for that in the situations. I'm not sure why that is, but um, we just have to take that on our shoulders as well as all the other stuff that we have to do as fathers.
Mm.
Yeah,
Point.
I definitely, as I have calmed down listening to you guys, and have come thinking to be more solution oriented to this idea, um, understanding the real importance of what happens in parental alienation, right? Is as much as either whatever parent is trying to alienate whatever parent is not the parents who suffer. Like you can see very clearly. I've seen fathers who say, "Oh, you don't want nothing to do with me, whatever." They just go start another family, and what ends up happening is, well, they sometimes it's better for them because now they have the things they want. They're involved. They not only start another family, go get involved with somebody who have other children and raise those children and have a great, because this goes back to, I don't know who was saying it, but I think it was you, Tenny, that people will see you. It's a very hard push to say well, why your dad didn't raise you, but he raised your brothers and sisters and his bonus children, and I, I don't understand what went on and how did that happen, you know. And a lot of times when that occurs, it leaves a question. It also leaves that big question mark for that child to also say, well, why did that happen? How, you know, it can have two folds. You know, it can have fold where the kids say, see, just like what I've been told, you didn't care about me. You went and started whole another family and you left me for dad. Or it could operate another way where they're curious. Why? And then they ask and they begin to ask those questions. And as the father, our responsibility is to keep that child in our heart, keep them in our mind, keep a remnant, keep an idea. You know, you can. I think that I've seen so many reconciliations of fathers who hadn't been around. And you know what was the number one thing that allowed them to reconcile? That father had a picture of them when they was young, a baby picture. And he said, I keep this in my wallet all the time. This, I can only imagine that I'm looking at you now because I haven't seen you none of these other times. And again, I'm not talking about somebody who has stay around the corner, who don't want to talk to you, who don't come around. I'm talking about people who will legitimately, it is not to their best interest to try to even, you know, to fight in the system because and people say, well, you should fight because you won't, you got to fight, you got to do this, but you know, how much more pain is there? How much more pain and how many other things can happen to? Because we know, listen, each of you can tell a story about someone who tried to think they could do it and make it their way, and what happened to them was worse than if they would have just left it alone. Now, I'm not saying that it ain't been men who did it and they won, right? But that's like at the roulette table. You got to hope you hit that one number. That number is ball spinning around, and you got to hope that number hit, because if it don't, you just out of gas. And you could find yourself farther back than where you was. You know, it's one thing. Let me tell you something. I say this all the time, and we don't think about it. And I think that this is something about in the Black community. When you call the people on people, that probably hurts them more if you did other things to them, because you could be really you putting them in a position. I'd rather you do stuff directly to me than call the people to come do some stuff to me, or me to go get the people to come do some stuff to you. Because when the people get involved, they can do anything. You can turn around, you call the people, and neither one of y'all had a goddamn child. Child being foster care, being abused, or worse things happening to them. These are the kind of things that can happen. So, we have to think. We have to just be patient. As I like to always say, realize that you are always your child's parent. And no matter when it is, you just have to be ready to be there to show up. You know, and let them know that they are your child and that you love them. And that let's keep it real. You have to keep it real. We have to develop our relationship. And it's easy because they're your genes. There's so many answers these children have about themselves, who they are, what they're about, why they do things that haven't been answered in the years that they haven't been around you, that is answered by you and is empowering. I say that because it's for myself. I experienced it myself, to be able to come to a place and experience why I'm doing some of the things I'm doing and seeing it in my father. I thought I thought everything really, I was like my mom or my stepdads. The things they had, whatever. Come to find out, I wasn't. And I find out, listen, I have so many characteristics, so many things And that's what also made me different in my environment in my home. So it's something to think about.
I'd like to add, you know, we as culture, as people, you know, it's funny how we operate. We have an issue in the home or between partners, and most of the time we don't seek help. You know, if your car breaks down, you call the mechanic. If the air doesn't work, you call it the AC tech. Why is it that many people who go through these emotions get help? There are many people in cultures that do what we call the performer versus the character. If you have an issue, there are people out there who can help you. It's not a rocket science. There are many people who have played the parental role to us here, fathers, prior to us, and even after us. If you have an issue, that's why the Fatherhood Think Tank is here. We can, come on board. Recommend a friend. We can help you because that's what we're here for. We've all given our time for the betterment of our children, ours and other children who may go through this issue. It's time now we make a change. It's time now we say, guess what? This is an issue that both of us can deal with. Let's not go to the judge. Let's go to somebody who's going to advocate for the child. Because 90% of the time, Eddie mentioned, what's the motivation? It's simple, money. Yeah, I'm going to go to the judge. I'm going to get paid. I've actually seen a female run out of the courthouse shouting, I'm going to get paid. Think about the motivation. That wasn't a solution. Well, it was a solution for her that she was going to get paid. But is it really a solution? And let me tell you why. After child support finishes at 18, they said, oh no, the money's finished. What do I do next? Where am I going to get the money from? I've adjusted my lifestyle for this child support. Now it's finished. It's time we reach out for help. It's time and stop using the courts as a. What I watched a movie years ago, and it's one of my favorite actors. She says, she said to the guy in the movie, you better get the act together or bring it to the big house. And I'm like, it's one of those guys, American dudes. It was a very good movie. She said, so she's telling him, get your act together or you're going to the judge. It's a culture, it's a norm. And those are the mindsets we need to change. She didn't say, let's work on the child. It's all about making the buck to pay for the kid. And how can we change that? I really don't have an answer. But it starts with each individual person. Each individual person who watches this program who can say to a friend, guess what? Let's do something different. We've seen fathers many times, Ron, who called me one night. He said, man, the mom is in the hospital. I have the kids. Why is the kids with me? I pay child support. And I said to him, simple. The mom is in the hospital. You are the father. It's time for a change. And each one of us can start somewhere.
Rohan, you brought up a really good point. And when you brought up about why the kids with me in the hospital, it almost popped it out of my head. But this idea that it's not these things and what's happening. I remember now. It came back to me. A lot of times we say this, and people say, well, the person has a problem with the mom, and you don't want to pay child support, or the mom just wants child. What you find is when you go in, and I like to bring this up all the time, when you see parents who are co-parenting, right? When you see them, right? When they're co-parenting, Lightborn can speak to this. I know other people can. When you see people co-parenting, those kind of statements are out the window. You don't hear this is about the money. And, I still remember that. And I say this every time I hear about the fraternity brother of mine who was divorced from his wife, and he was paying child support, and it was time for the child to go to school. Now, remember, this is not somebody who, oh my God, look at here. Let me just, before I go on, I just want to say hello to Angel. How are you doing, Angel? Rohan, you remember Angel, our little
Oh yeah.
brother, the little young brother who had the kid. Angel, thank you for joining us. We see you out there. Glad that you're watching tonight. I hope that your child should be much old. Maybe even got some more. Who knows? But that was a young brother who used to be back with us in Fort Lauderdale. Good to see you. He says he's doing good. I'm glad. We're glad to hear that. Um, to go back to the story that the father, when the time came, speaking to his daughter and telling her, because like, at this point, he was getting time with his daughter. He was paying child support. But guess what? He was also spending time with his child. Not because he was forced to, because that's what he knew. We sometimes forget this, that we have this idea that everything is negative. Every breakup with the kids is negative. I know more people who have successful co-parenting situations, maybe because those are the people I know, than the people who have negative ones, right? And so, you even see that they have honored their child more than they honored themselves. And that's what I related to honoring your child more than honor yourself. And so when the time came and the daughter wanted to go to certain college, and he told the wife, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I'm tapped out. I don't know how we're gonna do it. And the ex-wife had told him, she gonna be okay. And he was like, well, how is she gonna be okay? I can't even get all this money, whatever. She said, because I never used one child support check. It's all in the bank. So all that money for child support, however much it was put in the bank. And I want people to peep this. This is the same thing they would have did as a couple, as a married couple, if they stayed together with that money. Put it away for the child. Now I don't know at what cost that was for him, right? But the cost I always relate when I talk about child support is the cost would have not been a change from the cost he would have to pay anyway for his child if he stayed in the house. It's not one of those. It's not one of them things where, oh, if I'm separate and I pay child support, I'm paying a different amount of money than I would pay if we was together as a family. Now you probably pay more money and have to come up with more things, depending on what your income is and how it operates and what's going down. So I thought I'm always thinking about things like that, and also keeping in mind that all co-parenting, all issues are not going to look like alienation. They're going to look like co-parenting, and we have to begin to show and remind people that it can be. Sometimes we are conditioned to believe that things are bad and we do bad things because they're bad. That conformity mindset. Well, this is what you should do in this situation. We don't. And because that's the only thing that we see to do. And whereas when we learn that there's other ways and other options to handle that situation, we begin to participate in, and we begin to see the richness of it. And again, that starts also again back to what Brother Timmy said about who the people are around you. What are they influencing you to do? How are they talking to you? How are they supporting you? How are they saying? Now you'll have a woman say, you gotta let that man see that child. You crying about not being able to go out somewhere. You need to call the man and ask him to come get the child. You need to, these kind of things are definitely the things that could be happening, and that could happen. But if you are so caught up on the negative side and still caught up in your own selfishness about what I want, my Dream Girls reference. What about me? What about what I want? It's not about you. It's about us. I don't want to break into a song, but just using that idea that it's not about you as the individual once you have these children. It's about us. And if you're not going to make it possible to be about us, or understand that circumstances happen. Like somebody could be like saying, I think of a scenario where a person said, well, you ain't got the money, I need money for this, and you're not coming up with it. Well, listen, what about if we were together? How would we be coming up with that money?
That's right.
I keep saying, if we were together, I'm not at the club popping bottles. I'm not down at Rolex popping bottles, throwing money in the air. I get up in the morning, go to work. I go to this. I gotta pay. I gotta pay for all the stuff. We both gotta pay the same thing, and we still got a child. So we two individuals now living two individual lives, having to pay double bills, and still have to come and support our child at some point. Why do you think that? Now, not to say that there's not cases like that, but I would prefer not to focus on them. I want to focus on the ones that we can influence people that they could be like, and the things that they can end up doing. I see like boy shaking around, moving your body around. I don't know what that.
No, it's what you talking about. It's a complex situation. You talk about two people who had unresolved issues um, that pretty much birthed a child into a circumstances of unresolved issues. So imagine what it is to be that particular child. But I don't think that I think that it needs to be accountability on all ends. I don't think that, and I think too many times that fathers are given too much liberties per se when it comes to reasons why they can't meet their responsibilities versus mothers. And because of that, I think it can become an insult um, to a mother or whoever that primary parent is to know that, listen, I don't have that liberty. I don't have that leeway where I don't have the I rarely get the opportunity to not be able to do for my child, particularly if you're the primary parent or the custodial parent or whatever they call it these days. And so I can understand the frustration. I can understand the retaliation that derives from the frustration because a lot of the time the retaliation is just another form of the frustration that they're feeling. I can also understand that um, the behavior of people, period, particularly whether you're adult or a child, of people who continually can max out, for the lack of a better term, who could max out whatever grace that you give them. So, okay, I give you grace on you didn't have it this time, right? But if that continues to be the narrative and that continue to be the experience, then I can understand moving to the next level and putting an action where you, put an action in place where you didn't get no results with your words. And so I think, and I do see it. So and I understand the necessity for child support, et cetera, et cetera. But um, trying doesn't pay the bills. You understand? Trying doesn't feed that kid. And again, I think a lot of times, and when it comes to the narrative and the conversation, we give a lot of grace to men trying, as opposed to trying to put men trying up against women doing, and that's why I get off the boat. I'm like, yeah, they're right. You're telling me you're trying versus somebody doing, and you shouldn't be bringing trying to the table of doing. You understand? They always saying about if you're not on talk about always this big talk now politically about oh yeah, this is election day too. I voted anyway.
I hope y'all went out and voted, man. I hope
Yeah,
y'all went out and voted.
I wouldn't have voted, and I'm an independent. I'll tell you another story about that. I got a revelation about being an independent because when you're an independent, and I'm just this is a sidebar. I never knew when you was an independent you don't get to see none of the Democratic.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, what
you don't get to see any of the primary for the Democratic or the Republican.
Right. I'm like,
right.
what?
You just see the final options.
And yeah, which is in November 5th. So I'm like, wow. I mean, it was the quickest, being an independent, that was the quickest time I ever been at the poll. I had to maybe fill out like 4 sections, and that was it, and that was for judge and school board. And that was it. as an independent. But back to my point, yeah, you don't want to come to with the table or always come to the table with trying, especially when you see people do it. And so again, I think a lot of the retaliation that comes along with parental alienation. I'm getting ready to rhyme. I'm rapping right now. Tell I'm going to be a rapper. So I believe the retaliation that comes with parental alienation happens because of frustration of one parent maybe doing or shouldering more of the responsibility than the other. So I can understand both sides of the argument, but I want to before I side with any parent, I want to make sure that both have the burden of proof on their side before I take the side with a narrative where, and I've gotten bitten by this as well, where I thought, I just assumed every father was like me, that the trying will turn into doing. But when I found that the trying never materialized into doing, that told me that that person was really never trying at all. You understand? And so what happened was I just put my credibility of trying on that person, and at the end of the day, guess what? I was wrong. I just assumed that I wanted to do, and I was going to be, I was trying to be a good parent, and it did materialize. And come to find out, the other guy wasn't doing it, and I'm going to back with him as if he was me. What I didn't realize was, I'm like, you're trying to define or defend the person who's not you. You understand? And who just want to get all the accolades of being you without any of the work. And so it's a slippery slope. It's a double-edged sword that we have to navigate in our narratives and in our conversations. It's going to take a greater panel and a greater conversation to have that, because the trauma, and this is right up your alley, Ron. It's a lot of trauma of what you're talking about. And we have to research those traumas on both sides to come to a real, any type of, I won't even say a conclusion, but some type of resolution that both sides can reach that can be amicable on both sides. But for the most part, again, I would say parental alienation derives from the frustration of either parents or both parents for whatever reason.
Dr. Ron, I have a question. In your experience, those individuals who are in your circle or even outside your circle that have been successfully co-parenting, was it like that from start to where they are now, or was there a lull? I guess. Was it an uphill thing, or how did that graph work?
There is a variety, right? There is a variety, and I think about that. In some cases, these are some of those people were. I think about one. Let's give you 3 case studies to give you an example. One couple that was married, they had a child, they separated. They kind of still even live together, right? But they were separated. And then they kind of made it, their focus was so much more the kid, right, than anything else. They still did whatever life they had going on until they decided to finally get divorced and move to separate homes. But the kid at this point didn't know anything else but their parents, right? So that's a different scenario. This kid lived multiple years in a house. Now the kid might, you never know. The kid may have some relational things later on with relationship because of what they observed. Their parents were together, but they weren't together, right? Kind of like living in a place where you don't see certain kind of intimacy or certain things, and you just wonder, well, but I got my mom and my dad, and they're there. That's one scenario. But they're able to, they weren't friends, and I think I realized they weren't friends when they was together, but at this point now, they're a lot more friends. I mean, I think the struggle of being with somebody you may not feel like you want to be with, you can't live with, these things add to that, right? And if you can really, this is almost like, I think, like the blessing and the curse, that sometimes the kids are the ones, and what happens and how you care so much about them puts you in a better place, right? That we need, this is not working. We're gonna go our separate ways, but we're still gonna love our kid and still provide. Yo, that's equality, that, and you see it work out. Or you can see another case study of never married, just the accidental pregnancy, where, but they at the same time both stepped up, and I say this more than anything else, that about this idea of them both stepping up, because a lot of times people feel like, oh well, the mom always steps up and dad needs to step up, but they both stepped up because they both didn't, but they both decided to keep the child, and they, at that point, they made the agreement. They made the desire that they would decide how this union would, how this parenting would go. And so at this point, they are way more friends, right? Based on their child, right? They're way more friends because it wasn't, they don't have all the pain of a relationship in that capacity, right? And they accepted that there wasn't any more to this pregnancy other than the sex that they had, and a baby came of it. They didn't say, well, you supposed to be with me, I'm supposed to, all of those relational forces and things that weren't a part of it. So they have a child. They spend a lot of time, they listen. When I think about this couple, they spend time doing things together with the child. And that's some radical. Listen, not only so much, I'm gonna give you even more, that they're partners, and all of them get together for the child. So the child has literally 4 parents, right, who are 100% invested in supporting them. Now, that's when I've known them. They could have had some kids from now, and that changed. That dynamic might change a little bit based on new kids coming and what have you. And then there's the third case study that I'll present to you, that it was bad in the relationship. Mm-hmm. It's bad now, but they agree to disagree for the benefit of the child. Right? They don't even talk. They do stuff by text, and the child at this point is at an age where the child can, dictate some of what's happening. But they're not boozing buddies, they're not cooney, but they are working together as a team, as parents, even when they don't want to. So there's 3 different scenarios. Mm-hmm. The last one is not, they're not friends. They don't hang out. They don't talk to each other. The talking that they do is mostly emails, yes, where they say, hey, this is what we done, blah, blah, blah. They show up for the kid, and the kid knows the parents are, but the kids also know, that they can't pull no crap on the parents, because they do communicate, and that's the key thing, communication. And they both don't like each other, they don't deal with each other, but obviously at some point I believe they respect each other. They want to show respect to the child, maybe not each other. So that's why I say sometimes it's the children or the child, because in that last group they got 2 kids, not 1. They have 2 kids. A lot of people have 2 kids. It's the children that's the cause of what is causing those things. So I don't know how much that answers what was asking, Tidney.
Yeah, those are great case studies, especially the last one, because I would have thought that there would not, that would never be an option, to be able to agree to disagree, but yet still, make sure the
I
kid
don't
is.
think it's easy. I do not think that, based on them, that is easy, right? But because of their kids' ages and what is needed and definite for their kids, they have to buy in, right? And the reason I say that is because I'm quite positive that they bitch and moan about each other. But it's a maturity thing. They do it, but they have agreed not to do these kind of things in front of their children.
Right.
They agreed to not victimize their children with their bad choice of partner, right? And to as you should do as a parent, sacrifice. You just gotta say, listen, the kids, you gotta sacrifice. Now, that's the positives I told. I tell you the positives. Now I can tell you some. I can tell you the other story where the hustle is on all the time. I can give you one scenario. The father's trying to be co-parented, but it's messed up now because he got another baby, and he got a new wife. Things is 10 times worse. The mom will say, yeah, things happen, and then there's a hustle. Everything's like a hustle. I got you. Hey, can we change can you get him then? Or can you get him then? And then say, I agree to do it. And I think that as I talk to the father is getting frustrated with this. He agrees because, again, you know what he's saying? It's my kid, so I'll do it. But then when it's supposed to be the payback, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. So now I can't. You got to take her. And again, that's the scenario of these people. But that happens on both sides very often. When the people play the game and still try to ding dang the other person, and the kid sees. I think that that's not beneficial to the kid. Because I said, listen, let me tell you, I asked this question 100%. I said, listen, where will you be going that your child can't go? It's Labor Day. You can pull out the child during Labor Day. Where you going that your child can't go? And they told me they don't want their child to go and be in these certain areas. Blah, blah, blah. But again, I felt like, hey, you want to go there, but you still want to go there. And this is why I say, I admire you saying you don't want your child to go there, but you're also upset because you can't go there. So,
Ron,
interesting scenarios.
I like how Ron put that, and I have to add this real quick. 10E. It is very difficult to live by yourself. It is even more difficult if you add one more person to that equation, maybe a wife, yeah? So you're living by yourself, that's difficult. Adding a wife or girlfriend, that's difficult. Adding 3 kids to that household, we're talking about 5 people living in this space. Think about that just now. People from different backgrounds, different households, they're living together in this space. What Ron just said, and I like how Ron put it, when they have a child, but they're not living together. Look at what I'm saying. They have a child, they're not living together. So they can go each way, do their thing, let's just put that forward, and come together at that point to deal with that child. Marriage, relationship is complicated. It's a good thing. I didn't say it's bad. And that's what makes it much more challenging, because then many people are not honest why they get married. Some people get married for different reasons. And that's what makes it difficult, because marriage and relationship is work. And when you're forced to work inside of a household, think about that pressure. When some folks don't want to be there, they're just there because it's like a job. They don't want to do the job. They drive in and like, man, I wish I was somewhere else. But they got to go to work. So in the case of Ron, or the way Ron put it, they're not doing the job. They're not doing the marriage, you're not doing the relationship. Hey, we have a kid together. Okay, I'll pick up the kid from daycare. Okay, you pick up the kid from your aunt's house. And again, it's less work compared to
And I think the other part to that, Rohan, is they want their kid, right? So at some point, some of those couples I told you, the conflict becomes on who's spending the time with it. You know, that's why I ended up with the first couple. I think with the first couple I told you, they end up doing stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't like, oh, we're going to Disney World. Oh, I want to go too. Right. We all want, listen, we want to go to Disney. Next thing you know, now it's a 5-person trip to Disney World. When it was supposed to just be like a kid parent trip. Now it turned into a 5-person trip.
But Ron, you talk about something that's like almost divine, and I'm saying that to say this. You're talking about some complete healing from number one, from a trauma that's the trauma of the relationship between you guys splitting up. I think oftentimes, and this is just my reality, Ron, but we don't talk about this much. We accept the failure of adults' relationships, right? Mother, father, whatever. And we accept it. We accept it, and we accept it because we're like, oh, we're adults, so if you want to accept. And I'm like, yeah, but you can't talk about be high on valuing or have high value, because everybody talk about high value this and high value that. You can't be a high value person when it comes to your child. You understand? And have low value when it comes to your relationship that actually caused you guys to have a child. And so I think we compromise too much when it comes to the relationships of having children, and then we want to prioritize the child. You understand? As if a child having two separate parents makes him a whole child. It doesn't work that way. Two separates never really makes a whole. Separate makes separate. And so that child will always, he would be what they call it involuntarily traumatized, because he's got to figure out a way to be raised in two households. And I don't think we really put a lot of accountability on who we were as a couple versus who we are as parents. And then we think we can value each other better as parents than we did as a couple. I'm like, no, if the respect wasn't there as couples, it probably wouldn't be there as parents. You understand? Or your respect wasn't there as partners, it probably wouldn't be respected as parents until you work. And unfortunately, we put more work into being parents than we do into being partners. And so we got to figure out where the system of our families really break down at and deal with that system, because too many of us are guilty of the breakdown. And so what we try to do is vicariously restore who we wasn't, right, in the relationships with our partner, and try to find some type of solace and recovery in being a parent. And I'm like, well, yeah and no, because you still haven't dealt with the trauma of being a partner. And so what you try to do is live vicariously through being a parent. And that's another story within itself. But it's a lot of moving pieces when it comes to this particular conversation. So I couldn't really give it justice because I was a little distracted today. But I'm just going to give my particular point of view on what I did here and what I could expound on, and I'm going to just go from there. But we're going to have this conversation another time, believe it or not.
I thought that was a very interesting observation. I feel you. I'm listening.
Listen, I would definitely agree with that. But I always will say, depending the circumstance, right? Because I think what happens is some of that is how people end up in these tumultuous situations, right? Where, that couple, the middle couple, where they just had the sex and had the child, they already they realized that there was no becoming a couple. And again, that goes into a whole nother scenario, like, you know, that goes into people's ethics, morals, and well, why would you have sex with somebody that you wouldn't get married to, or wouldn't have a child, that you wouldn't be in a relationship with? Again, but they, as I said, they was given lemons and they made lemon souffle. Not lemonade, they made lemon souffle because that is how it kind of works for them. So I definitely, but there is a big part of, I definitely agree with what Lionel is saying, that there are things in this where if we follow the 5 hoods, right? The theory of the 5 hoods: boyhood, childhood, manhood, husbandhood, fatherhood.
That's right.
If you follow the order of the hoods, you will not even see this exist, because you will be a great father because of what kind of husband you are going to be. Because the issue is no longer trying to deal with your partner. It's you and your partner figuring out how you going to manage raising these kids in the world we live in today. And I see a lot of couples that are working and doing that today.
Ron, a real quick run. I gotta say something real quick. That 5 hood that Ron just mentioned, being responsible and irresponsible come with consequences. Being a good father or a good husband doesn't mean you were a bad father or a bad husband. Sometimes the partner don't want that. They don't want that hood. They don't want that father or that husband. So to fathers out there, don't believe you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes the other partner don't want that training, that man, that confidence, that husband. So I just want to put that out there, that for many fathers who believe they're doing wrong, or husbands believe they're doing wrong, because let's be real. What's the number one reason for stress? I tell people it's unrealistic expectations. That's what really causes most stress. And sometimes it's untold expectations. So I just want to make it clear. Nobody is doing anything wrong. Everything you do it to the best of your ability. Because unrealistic expectation means it's unrealistic. That's simple. Untold expectations, you never knew. So how can you do something that you were never told? So I just want to put that in there real quick. Go ahead, Ron.
Listen. Yes, I mean that's the purpose, to drop it for us to think about. Listen, we listen. My voice is raspy because I was probably yelling so loud that nobody could hear me in the background. Listen. You know how you see somebody watching football or basketball games and they yeah, that's how I was in the background watching that symposium, and that's what I'm into. So I mean, I'm not gonna get hyped like that about a basketball, football game, what have you. But I will get hyped about something like that because I know that's the work I do, and it means something to make sure people are not sometimes doing things to make situations worse for people who are already in bad situations. They have good intentions. Look, people have good intentions. They always have good intentions, and you can't fault them for their good intentions. But sometimes their intentions ain't enough. They should have did their homework. They should have did their research. They should know what they're going to be, what they're about to invest in, or what they're about to put out there, because intentions don't save nobody.
Well, now, Ron, then you just came full circle with this conversation then. because you can apply the same thing to fathers as well, who have good intentions. You understand? But if those intentions are not follow up, don't never what they call it materialize in actions, then I think the same thing could be said about fatherhood as what you just said about this panel as well.
So I would say, hey, thank everybody. Let me make sure I get the sponsors in here. We, I matter of fact, it was who told me about this program. He sent it to me yesterday and asked me, hey, do you want to go into here and get in that? Johnny Gaspar, JAG attorney at law, was the one who called me and sent me an email of that. And I said, no, I'll check it out. Because I think the last time that we tried to do a live broadcast or something, it was something that I couldn't say that I could wholly support, right? And then I put Lightborn on the fire and brimstone. So because I don't support that kind of stuff for people's time. That's your choice. You want to go, but I'm not about to be telling you to come to one thing and end up doing another thing, and feeling guilty that you better write a check, get a timeshare. It's not my thing, right? So again, I want to thank Johnny A. Gaspar, attorney at law. If you're looking for him and for being the main sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank, you can check him out. Again, if you need to get in touch with him, Johnny J. Gaspar at jag1law.com. Phone number 305-827-8087. Or hit his website, www.jag1law.com. I definitely, without a doubt, want to thank our partners in Fatherhood Initiative, mentoring, Theta Chi, chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fort Lauderdale, Zeta Xi Nu chapter, Omega Psi Phi in Lagos, Nigeria, and Omega Lambda chapter of Omega Psi Phi in Philadelphia, for being partners in the Fatherhood Initiative with the Fatherhood Think Tank. And I just wanted to put this throwback up here. Throwback to remember that when you think about what it really means to be in the Fatherhood Think Tank, this is what it looks like. It looks like all kinds of ideas being spreaded among the men who are there. We have a bright light that's really our brain that's getting that information. We have the opportunity to start putting things together, thinking, processing, looking at, and really knowing what we are. And so I want to again thank my trusty cohorts for always being here, keeping me honest, and as well as making sure I don't stand here and talk to myself, because that's one thing I hate to do. I hate talk unless I'm talking to myself, watching people do something I don't like. I'll do that pretty well. But with that being said, hey guys, repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of
I am a
honor.
man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am
a man of courage.
I say I am a man of respect.
I am
a man of respect.
I say, fathers, I say that you are. I say that we are.
We are
Championship as we always do, we hold our children up on our arms and our families on our backs. We make sure we try to tell you our experiences in fatherhood. Hopefully that you can think about it and process your own experience of fatherhood. You can always join us and share with us some of your own experiences of fatherhood based on our topic. As we are here every Tuesday, well, mostly every Tuesday, that something happens. 7 o'clock here at the Fatherhood Think Tank. I want to thank you guys for participating and listening. All those people out there, definitely join us next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock, at the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Oh, Ron,
Yeah.
before you go off, I'm not
Yes.
gonna be here next week because my family we going on a cruise this Saturday, so I'll be
Oh,
gone.
y'all going on a cruise? Y'all going on
Yeah,
a cruise this Saturday?
yeah. So
Y'all cruising? How long? Oh, well, don't get too much of your business.
7 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
y'all going on a cruise. You don't want, you still live in a interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, and people see you and be like, oh yeah.
I'll miss you guys.
Anyway, enjoy yourself. Tell your wife enjoy yourself. And it's sad because I was coming there this weekend to look for you, but I guess y'all will be on the cruise.
Yeah, we'll be gone.
It's funny.
Appreciate you, fam. I love you guys, man. I know y'all are holding down. So
See how that is. And on the other note, I'll see you everybody in the byways, highways, and always remember, we are fathers and we are champions. Thank you and good night.
Good night.